DJ, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
What if you were given just an absurd amount of money and you had a desire to discover new creatures? Like, if you just had an absurd amount of money and your goal was to discover new life forms, like new animals, where would you go?
Hmm. So new animals or new life forms?
Let's, new, like, a- animal. Okay, define animal real quick.
Well, it's just if I'm looking for like new species of bacteria, I'm gonna go to like a
Hmm.
locker room. Like so
Okay, yeah, let's say animals. Let's say animals.
okay, I would go to Peru because even if I didn't find anything, hey, got to go to Peru.
Why Peru?
I don't know, seems nice.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay, let's put this in a specific time frame then. Let's say it's the 19s. And
Mm.
again, you're given just this absurd amount of money and you're going to do whatever you can to discover new animals. Where do you go?
I feel like 1920s was a very big era for Egyptian exploration. And so I'm gonna go dig in those sacred burial pyramids and find an animal.
Just find like a mummified cat or something.
A mummified what?
Yeah, a mummified keyword from our last episode.
But yeah, so I would say I would go to Egypt again. If I don't find anything, I got to go to Egypt.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think back then they were still eating crushed up mummies. Did you know that was a thing?
I'd snort them back when the Brits were doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's weird.
yeah, they're not known for being normal.
So true. Anyways, so that's what you would do, and that's great.
Sure.
That's awesome. Today we're talking about an American naturalist who wanted to do something similar, but he chose an 8 square mile area in a specific portion of the world that I personally would not want to go to.
That was my second guess.
What's the guess?
Exactly what you just said.
He wanted to specifically explore an area of the ocean. Now, DJ, do you think you would ever do deep sea travel?
I think so. I
Okay.
it's tough. It's hard to say because on the one hand, I love exploring and like experiencing new things and stuff, but on the other hand, I'm a weenie. And let me tell you, deep sea exploration hasn't had the best couple of years as an industry. Really, just one accident.
Okay, what's crazy? That happened 2 years ago, just
Yeah,
over 2 years ago. I watched a documentary on it recently. Love hearing the full story. It's tragic. Like, it
yeah,
really is
yeah.
tragic. But there's just so much going into it. It's like it was doomed from the start. But anyways, there's another really rich dude who right now who's got a new submersible that he's going to start taking people down to see the Titanic in.
I've got no comments, and definitely no comments that rhyme with bachelor election. I saw a video on it's probably Facebook the other day where there's a guy showing like a graph of Titanic deaths over time. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show it for the listeners. It was a dumb joke. Anyways, so it's like 1890, 1900, 1910, 1912, 1950, 1960, 1980, 2000, 2023, and it like goes up just a little bit and then goes back down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, our hearts are we mourn with the rich people who would not mourn with us.
Well, we're talking about another rich guy who decided it was his goal to go deep into the ocean today.
I'll mourn with him too, just as much as I mourn with these guys,
Yeah, well,
if not
the
more.
the good thing about this guy's story, we don't actually get to that point of his story. So that's kind of cool
Nice.
at least. But anyways, that's what we're talking about today. We are talking
Sweet.
about Charles William Beebe and the Bathysphere. And now I've
Mm.
told you just a little bit about this off the air, but we're going to go a little more in depth today.
Yeah.
If this is a story that you're interested in, after our introduction, I'm going to explain a little bit about how this fits the category of the creatures unseen. series. But before that, DJ, who are we?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything But the Cats. Is that what you wanted? Did you want an intro?
Yeah, I wanted an
That's
intro.
good. Like, I don't know. I guess explorers underwater, like, I was setting the stage. I don't know. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything But the Cats. We are, as always, the only show. I'm DJ.
And I'm Gage.
And yeah, we are Everything But the Cats. We're going to talk about every single thing, except for, of course, the cats. And lately, Gage has been leading me through a series of cryptids and aliens and ghosts and kind of general Halloween tomfoolery. And it's been fun. I've learned a lot, and I know what you're thinking. Gage said he's going to explain this, so this little intro is useless, but that's okay. You might be thinking, like, man, there are 4 things in this world that I'm afraid of: cryptids, ghosts, aliens, submersible vehicles. And if that is you, then we are the perfect podcast for you, and we're excited to have you on board. But you're probably not excited to be on board because of that fear. Anyways, welcome to the show. The floor is back to being yours, Gage.
That
Please
was
take
great.
it. I get it away from me.
So the reason this fits is because Charles William Beebe, who would later, I'm pretty sure, just go by William, he
Instead of his whole name.
instead of his whole name,
Hello, I'm Charles William Beebe.
he discovered a lot of creatures, or at least described a lot of creatures in his writings that we have never been able to find since. And the definition of a cryptid is a creature that has not been scientifically proven, essentially, to exist at any time. It includes multiple levels. I think we talked about this a long time ago during our raccoon bear episode. But essentially, cryptids fall into a few categories. One of them is creatures that have never been scientifically proven. One of them is creatures of folklore, and one of them is extinct creatures, or creatures that are not currently known to scientifically exist. So those are the categories of creatures. The creatures that we're talking about today in Charles William Beebe's story fall into that category of things that we think existed at one point, but we're not entirely sure. And so today we're talking about the untouchable bathysphere fish. That's what we're going to be talking about. DJ, have you ever heard of the untouchable bathysphere fish?
No, but it's a very vivid name.
Right?
Yeah. So can I tell you about the untouchable bathyspheres? Yeah, that guy?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I bet it's a fish that can't be touched.
Yeah.
You go to touch it, and a hole just like opens up around where you went to touch it.
Fish is looking untouchable.
Fish is looking untouchable. And, excuse me, not only that, it's submersible. So that's why it's called the bathysphere fish, because it can go underwater like a submarine.
Yeah, you're so close. So
Great.
fish is both singular and plural. Like fishes
Yeah.
is not an appropriate word necessarily. So
Take it up with Jesus.
the untouchable bathysphere fish is actually 5 different kinds of fish that were documented by Beebe that we have never been able to find since. And he documented many fish that we know exist, that we've been able to see, that we've been able to find, and that look similar to how he described them. But these 5 we have never been able to find. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we get into the fish themselves, let's talk just a little bit about Charles William Beebe. Now, he was born in Brooklyn, New York in July 29th of 1877. On July 29th of 1877.
Cold day.
He was the son of a newspaper executive. When he was born that year, the American Museum of Natural History opened up, and his dad was pretty much just like, have fun. Like, from the second he could walk, he was set free in the Museum of Natural History.
Yeah.
Pretty much just doing whatever he wanted. And his dad, being, a newspaper executive, he was able to have connections to these kinds of things and was just deeply interested in the natural world and in the process of reporting and discovering and those kinds of things. And high school, he started to collect animals. Now, when I first read this, I had no idea what that meant, but he would either hunt animals and taxidermize them himself, or he would get them from supply houses or other collectors. So as a high schooler, he had connections in the taxidermy world of New York, which is really interesting to me.
I bet that if I had 2 weeks, I could trade phone numbers with a person who's into taxidermy, and like we could be friends.
Oh, for sure. Like today,
Yeah.
I
No,
feel
tell
like
you what, no Google allowed. I bet within 2 weeks, I can trade numbers with someone who's into taxidermy.
you heard this, listeners, in 2 weeks, which should be the next time we record.
Yeah,
DJ will have the phone number of a taxidermist.
yeah. I let me make a note for myself.
It's Chuck Testa.
Is Chuck Testa?
Is that reference still acceptable?
We're pretty old, Gage.
What's crazy, I didn't realize this until years after I first saw it. Rhett and Link made that video.
Really?
Yeah. They apparently, for a lot of the local businesses and stuff, they made advertisements for them, and that was one of them.
No way. That makes sense though.
It does make
I've texted
sense.
myself, get a taxidermist number without Google. And I won't use any search engine. Like I'm going to use the power of word of mouth.
Okay. Man, if this works, I really need to start doing it. Dude, we should have a taxidermist on sometime.
Yeah,
Teach
I
us
mean
about the world of taxidermy.
I'll try to get him on the episode
That would be so
or
cool.
on the show, yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so Charles William Beebe as a high schooler is friends with taxidermists and animal collectors, which is crazy that he's like friends as a high school, as a teenager, with people who collect animals. And
It is.
chances
Yes.
are, if they're animals that he's hunting in the late 1800s, almost the 1900s, near Brooklyn, like that means A, there's a lot of disposable income being spent on him being able to go hunting,
Yeah.
most likely.
Yeah.
And B, it's got to be exotic. Like if he can't get it on its own, it's got to be exotic animals. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in just a minute. But anyways, he was accepted to Columbia University in 1896 and ended up taking research trips to Nova Scotia, where he continued collecting different animals, but also took up wildlife photography. At this time, he also started to pick up dredging. Never applied to receive his degree. He kind of just used college as an excuse to hang out with people in the world of
Love it.
like zoology and
Yeah.
naturalism and stuff like that. Like he just kind of used it as an excuse to make connections, and it worked in his favor.
Great.
He actually later would end up with honorary doctorates from Tufts College and Colgate University.
That's not bad.
So pretty soon after he left college, he started working with the Bronx Zoo, at the Bronx Zoo, as an ornithologist. Do you know what an ornithologist is?
Someone who studies birds.
Yes. He was a bird man for the Bronx Zoo. And throughout his career, he had a very long and storied career. He would publish all kinds of books, went on expeditions throughout most of the world. He was just a really cool dude who, like, yes, he definitely had means from
Yeah.
birth, that he inherited wealth and was able to do a lot of stuff based on that alone. But still, back in the day, kind of like when we were talking about Jane Goodall, he was one of those guys who just saw, like, he's like, I want to study birds.
Yeah.
And so he went and
Great.
did it. And it's just
Love
really
that.
cool to think
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for go-getters. It was easier back then too,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you could just decide like, hey, I want to become the leading expert in the world on birds. And then like process was complete. Like you did it.
You just had to have the desire, honestly.
Yeah.
Just the thought cross your mind, I should be the best at this. I already am. Woo.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. On my dad's side, we founded, so not only on my dad's side, if you follow dad's dad all the way up, I've mentioned this on the air before. We were in Salem during the witch trials.
Oh.
So like we've been in the US on, dad's dad all the way up in the US longer than the US has been in the U.S. And then they like there's all family there. I have no idea how my grandpa ended up in the cesspit that is Fort Scott, Kansas, but he did. And then not and then, but like while other Blethans were off founding like the Seattle Times or whatever. So did I draw the short straw? I
Comment below.
for the sake of family who's listening to this, no, I didn't. Everything is great. I'm glad I grew up in Fort Scott, Kansas instead of literally anywhere else.
Hey, I'm glad you were in Fort Scott.
Me too, Gage.
But yeah, I know like back then you could just kind of do things a little
Yeah.
bit. And we talked about this in our episode on the 1969 Berkshire UFO event. We talked about it
Yeah.
in that episode, but like even 10 years ago, dude was getting government written documents about his historical UFO encounter. Like that's so cool. But people just used to do that. Maybe they still do. I don't know. I'm going to start trying to just do stuff and see what happens. But
You
yeah,
have 2 weeks.
I have
In
2
2 weeks,
weeks.
I will get a taxidermy guy's number, and you'll do something. So
I will
good
star
luck.
in a short horror film. That's what I'll do.
As a man with a guitar on a stage, no audio, please.
But yeah. But
Yeah.
anyways, although Charles started out hunting animals, he started out collecting them by killing them and taxidermizing them himself. He eventually became, and I say eventually, but it was pretty early into his adulthood that he started to change his views on hunting and on trophy collecting when it came to animals. So pretty early on, he started to emphasize the importance of wildlife conservation. He was good friends at different points with Theodore Roosevelt, who is also like a hunter who is really into wildlife conservation as well and nature
Mhm.
conservation. And in 1906, so okay, 1906, dude's not even 30 years old. He's 29 at this point. Okay.
Same.
He donates his collection of over 990 taxidermized animals to the zoo. So by 29, he had a collection of 990 different animals.
So that is wild. It's also wild that he's like, you know what place needs this? The zoo.
Hey, that's
Like,
that's an ethical way to have a zoo though, is that you only have taxidermized animals. That way you're not keeping the real ones in cages. I mean
picture
the
being the
alive ones.
live lion. Like, hey, you guys see the new guy? It's pretty quiet.
He smells kind of funny. Tastes like formaldehyde.
They're like, why did the lion start talking?
See, I was at a zoo once and I just heard from afar, "Look at the lion."
Oh man, I haven't been to Wichita Zoo yet.
I actually went with Ryan and
Okay,
he did say that when we were looking at the lion.
I love that.
I'm so excited to have him on here too. But
Yeah,
anyways,
that'd be great.
so he did that, and with his donation to the zoo, they made him a lifetime member of the New York Zoological Society. The journal Zoologica was
Okay,
founded by two people that he worked under and with, and they founded this journal purely so that he could start publishing articles about the things that he found when he was on like expeditions and stuff.
what great hype people. I assume
Right?
hype men, but hype people.
It was like 1906, probably men, but
Hype men. What great hype
yeah.
men.
But yeah, like so cool. They were like, "Hey
Yeah.
man, we like the way that you write. We like the things that you're discovering. So we're going to start a journal just so that you can start publishing articles." That's so cool. But
Don't
like I
ask
said,
where the ad revenue is going.
yeah. But like I said earlier, he was close friends with Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt even ended up writing introductions to two of his books. My last note on here is literally too much for my taste. I don't know what that means.
This guy needs to chill the heck out.
I mean, that was probably it. Is that like
Yeah.
he's just done so much? So like
Wait, how many animals have you killed, Gage?
probably like 10.
Okay.
Probably because like remember when we were in like seventh grade when Bird Mageddon happened in Fort Scott? and there were just like these huge flocks of like blackbirds, ravens, crows, etc., that were all over town.
Not even a little bit.
Okay. So, especially out toward where I lived, so out toward Jayhawk, there
Yeah.
was like just birds everywhere. And I remember when we would go to school in the morning, there would be birds flying over the road. And it was, I think, specifically on that southeast side of town,
Yeah.
mostly on the southeast side of town. But you lived by the middle school at that point. So, I mean, I think
Yeah.
you would have had to have experienced it a little. But, anyways, there was a group of us in our neighborhood because we were outside city limits who would just like go out with shotguns and shoot into the cloud of birds.
Wild.
So, I probably killed a few
Yeah.
doing that. I think I shot like twice. And then
Yeah.
I did clean a single fish when I turned 18 and I cried when
It
it
was your
died.
rite of passage.
Yeah.
Man, that's really funny. That's the Gage I know for sure. I don't know that I've ever like intentionally. Well, so I've intended to kill things. I don't know if I ever have succeeded. I don't know. Like obviously like flies and stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't know that I've ever killed like a vertebrate. Except I know a little Swahili. So this is for our Swahili listeners. Nimeua Simba kwa mikono yangu.
So I was listening to one of our older episodes recently,
Yeah.
and you said that in that episode too.
Did I say what it was?
No.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the cats, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah, you said it in, I think it wouldn't have been your birthday episode where we talked about board games. It would have been the one
Yeah.
before that. So it was like it was like our New Year's special. You said it in
Okay.
our New Year's special from our first, well, we never did a second one. So our first New Year's, you said it in that one.
Great.
So yeah, that's a little Easter egg. Go back and listen to the
Yeah.
episodes that are audio only, and you'll see the first time DJ says that.
If you'd like more Swahili, Chokiko Wapi.
The only thing I know about Swahili, and I didn't mention this in that episode, is that apparently my name means liquor, like moonshine, because Haroon at school used to think that my name was Sage, and he was like, "Oh, that's a good name," because there was also Sage
Yeah.
at school with us. And then I was like, "Oh no, it's Gage." He was like, "Oh, don't tell people that. Just say your names. Just say." I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "It's moonshine." And I was like, "Oh, moonshine. Like that's cool. Like moonshine." And then he was like, "No, like liquor." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I'm looking and I'm not seeing it.
I don't know if like spelling was different or what. Maybe he was just pulling my leg.
I have learned though that I think when I was in Tanzania, I think there's a Nyamwezi tribe. That sounds right. It means moonshiners. So sorry, y'all. Thanks to you guys. Just kidding. I'm sure it's fine. Anyways, the second one I said is where's the bathroom?
Pero ir al baño, which might be can I use the bathroom? I don't actually know. Anyways, so in 1928, we're skipping ahead because apparently in my notes I got too tired of writing. I
This
wrote
guy
this like a
sucks.
month ago.
Yeah.
In 1928, Beebe was given permission by the British government to establish a research station on Nonsuch Island. By the way, what a cool name for an island.
Yeah.
It's just like, what's on this island? Nothing such. Like, no, Nonsuch.
Yeah.
Do you know where Nonsuch Island is? Any guesses?
So I went to Google it and I definitely Googled non-suck. I haven't Googled it yet though. It's in the Pacific. It's a bit southwest of Hawaii.
It's in Bermuda,
That was my second guess.
which is the opposite ocean, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this was one of those things that I never really took to memorizing, was Pacific and Atlantic. I never really cared to remember which was which. I don't know why this is what I picked.
Wild. I spent time living on a beach, so I feel like maybe I'm a bit more attached.
That's fair.
But yeah, it is in the wrong ocean.
Okay, I know where Hawaii is. I just didn't know which ocean that was. Anyways,
Yeah.
now at the time that this would have happened in 1928 when Beebe was given this permission, the practice for studying sea creatures was by helmet diving and dredging. But in his mind, I mean genuinely at the depth of area that this part of the ocean could get to, which is multiple miles deep.
Yeah.
both of these methods were inadequate. So submarines at the time were also inadequate because they were windowless. They could go much deeper, but you couldn't really view the world around you. Now, I'm just curious, was sonar that good in 1928 that they could steer a submarine without windows?
Googling. I don't think it's going to help because all I Googled was how good was sonar. Let's broaden this a little bit.
It's listening to me, so it knows. Now, to be fair, submarines could only go down about 390 feet. So they were probably in areas that like people had some familiarity with at least, I guess. And armored scuba
Yeah.
suits. Okay, actually, in 1928, what do you think was the best way to go the deepest in the ocean at that time
I mean,
before the bathysphere?
and you're trying to survive?
Yeah, survive.
Okay. Because, like, cinder block, like, you teach a guy a lesson he will never forget. Okay. So you're trying to survive
Mm-hmm.
before the bathysphere.
Mm-hmm. And I just said submarines could go about 390 feet deep at this time.
Yeah. You stick someone in a cage, like a shark cage, and you just kind of let it go. And so instead of being in the submarine, they're just kind of loose in the elements. But like you leave them with an air tube.
What about pressure? So
For our listeners, using hand gestures, I just put together a very well thought out, well explained argument
that can't be put into words.
that cannot possibly. English fails to grasp the beauty of it.
It's like he was speaking in tongues, but with his hands. But anyways, it's armored scuba suits.
Okay.
And
Personal subs.
Yeah, so with an armored scuba suit, you could go about 525 feet down.
Yeah. Why did anyone use submarines?
I know,
Sounds
right?
stupid.
I assume that the armored scuba suit was not a fun experience. Is
Also,
my best assumption.
The sonar is worse in those because you're just like down there, like listening.
You're like, my hearing isn't that good underwater, so I think I'm good.
Yeah. No U-boats here.
But yeah, so at this time, Beebe's goal was actually to go 2 miles deep, and he figured he could do that off of Nonsuch Island. And so he posted an idea in the New York Times for a cylindrical vessel, and this ended up catching the attention of a man named Otis Barton, who was an engineer who also had been dreaming of being a deep sea explorer. Now, I'm just curious, like before deep sea exploration was a thing,
Yeah.
how many people were dreaming about deep sea exploration?
Two,
Like,
at least.
Yeah, at least two. But it's just one of those things that it's like, was that like just a common thing that people who live near the ocean were like, man, I want to go down there. Like, I want to go in that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
When
Same.
I was a little boy growing up near the ocean before I moved to Fort Scott, Kansas, I do remember like we went to a dock and there were a bunch of boats and like people like cleaning out the boats and stuff. I remember being like, man, I want to work on one of those one day. Like I just want to go explore. Like I want to be on a boat. That sounds awesome. And it was just this sense of like exploration and like I want to go and explore and see and know things. This is awesome. And people like that have always existed. And so I'm positive it's just someone happened to live near the ocean and they're like, I want to be in that.
That's fair. That's fair.
I want to get cracked by the pressure, just smushed.
See, but like before people did do any kind of deep sea exploration, did anyone even know about the water pressure? I know obviously physicists probably had some kind of an idea, but like maybe not physicists, but like people who studied like the power of water and gravity and stuff like that probably had some kind of an idea. But you know, like the average person wouldn't be like, oh yes, if I go deep enough in the water, it's going to crush me.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Yeah, I'm curious how many things like the bends, for instance, that happen if you go deep and then you come back up too fast because of stuff with the pressure. Like I'm curious if scientists first hypothesized, I bet a thing called the bends could happen. Or if instead some person came up and their head exploded or whatever. And then the scientists were like, we gotta We got to figure that out.
Their blood vessels are all exploding. What's happening here?
This is not. The sea is dangerous.
So if you stay underwater long enough, you get to where you can't breathe oxygen anymore. That's the conclusion. He turned into a mer person.
Merson.
Merson. But anyways, so he had this idea for a cylindrical vessel in the New York Times, and Otis Barton saw this. He was an engineer, and he was like, this isn't a good idea.
It is vital that the cylinder is not harmed.
The cylinder is connected to a larger object.
Yeah.
And it's vital that they are not separated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was like, the cylinder is not the shape that you should go with for deep sea exploration, because he, as an engineer, understood a little bit more about the way that the water pressure would work. And so he sent multiple letters to Beebe suggesting how to perfect the idea. Beebe didn't pay attention. Like, he didn't listen. He didn't he didn't respond, nothing.
Man, so it like this 2023 thing is like, it's a thing.
Well, the reason that he didn't like respond to anything that that Barton had sent him was because they had received a lot of letters after he initially posted it from different engineers and different other people who were like, I'll build it for you, or I have suggestions or something like that. And he just kind of got tired of like responding to people by the time that Barton got back, like tried to send him letters. And so they failed to meet, but eventually through mutual friends, they were able to meet up just kind of by chance. Spherical! And they came to an agreement where Barton would pay for the vessel. So like he would pay to make the submersible and the equipment for keeping it in check and stuff like that. And Beebe would pay for the ship that they would take out that would lower and raise the vessel. So that's what they agreed on.
Great.
And Barton came up with a design of a sphere vessel because this was best for resisting pressure. The sphere had openings for 3-inch thick windows made of fused quartz, which is apparently the strongest transparent material that was available at the time.
Love it.
And it had a 400-pound entrance hatch, which had to be bolted down before you would go into the water. Now, here's the thing about that. If you're bolting me into a submersible object before dropping me potentially 2 miles into the ocean, that is terrifying. Like, I don't want to be bolted inside this thing, but I understand like pressure. You want to have like no seams, really. I don't know. That's just.
I'm very pro bolt because I don't think there's any scenario where I'm down below and I'm like, we got to get this door open. It's the only way to save us. We got to get out of this thing.
Claustrophobia or something. I don't know, man.
I would rather there still wouldn't be the option. Like, you take the bolt off. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Good luck. Maybe they didn't know about the pressure. No, they did.
They did.
Yeah. Those idiots thought they needed a bolt.
At least Barton knew about the pressure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to make it cube-shaped. Notice all these seams.
See, when I said cylinder, like a cylinder shape, I didn't mean up and down. I meant side to side.
Yeah.
Because the pressure can't crush something that's long.
So true.
But anyways, it was bolted down. Initially, there were 2 windows mounted on the sphere, and a steel plug was put in the place of the 3rd window. Oxygen would be supplied from high-pressure cylinders carried inside the sphere, while pans of soda lime and calcium chloride were mounted inside the sphere's walls to absorb exhaled carbon dioxide and moisture. Which is it's really cool that they were able to come up with all of this.
Yeah, I agree.
Air was going to be circulated past these trays by the bathysphere's occupants using palm leaf fans. So like there's so much like chemistry and science going into it, and then it's like, we're going to give you these fans made of palm leaves and you have to blow air across the pans. The casting of the steel sphere was handled by Watson Stillman Hydraulic Machinery Company, Roselle, New Jersey. And the cord to raise and lower the sphere was provided by John A. Roebling's Sons and Company. General Electric provided a lamp, which would be mounted just inside one of the windows to illuminate animals outside the sphere, and Bell Laboratories provided a telephone system, which divers inside the sphere could communicate with the surface. That is so cool to think about in the
Yeah.
1920s.
Yeah.
Like, this is pre-World War II, and they're communicating from underwater to the boat. Like, that's just so cool. The cables for the telephone and to provide electricity for the lamp were sealed inside of a rubber hose, which entered the body of the bathysphere through a stuffing box. After the initial version of the sphere had been cast in June of 1929, it was discovered that it was too heavy to be lifted by the winch, which would be used to lower it into the ocean, requiring
Pick
Barton
me
to
up,
have
wench. Lift me. Use your
Barton.
legs, wench.
When they discovered that it was too heavy, Barton melted the sphere and recast it. The final design consisted of a hollow sphere that was 1 inch thick, which is crazy that it was only
Yeah.
an inch thick, of cast steel, and it was only 4.75 feet in diameter. It wasn't even 5 feet in diameter. Mind you,
Yikes.
2 grown men went down in this thing.
Yeah.
It weighed 2.25 tons
Wild.
above the water. Its buoyancy reduced this by 1.4 tons when it was submerged, and it had 3,000 feet of steel cable. So it still wasn't going to be able to go the 2 miles that Beebe wanted, but the 3,000 feet of steel cable weighed an additional 1.35 tons. So
Wild.
they had essentially like 3 tons of material that was being handled and lowered and raised into and out of the ocean. And they could get it 3,000 feet deep, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the bathysphere. It went on multiple different dives throughout the next couple of years. And I'm going to stop talking about that specific information, and we're going to go ahead and get into the untouchable bathysphere fish. So I have writings directly from Beebe, like what was written in his books and his journals about the things that he saw. And we're going to just talk about each of these fish for a minute.
Yeah. Love it.
There's not really any theories as to what they could be other than saying,
Fish.
well, we'll talk a little bit about that, I guess. But
Sure.
the first fish is the five-lined constellation fish. It was one of the first fish spotted by him. And
Okay.
this was in 1932. So by the time 1928 was when he was given permission to do this, within 4 years, he was doing dives and started to record the fish that he was seeing. And this is how he described it. A small school of luminous fish had just passed when, fortunately, at a moment of suspension, came a new and gorgeous creature. I yelled for continuance of the stop, which was at 1,900 feet, and began to absorb what I saw. A fish almost round, with long, moderately high, continuous vertical fins, a big eye, medium mouth, and small pectoral fins. The skin was decidedly brownish. We swung around a few degrees to port, bringing the fish into the dark blue penumbra of the beam, and then I saw its real beauty. Along the sides of the body were 5 unbelievably beautiful lines of light, 1 equatorial with 2 curved ones above and 2 below. Each line was composed of a series of large pale yellow lights, and every one of these was surrounded by a semicircle of very small but intensely purple photophores. So I think what's interesting about this, he describes it later as also having a really slender profile.
Okay.
So what's interesting about this fish to me is that it's got like bioluminescence going along its sides,
Yes.
and like nothing like this fish has been seen since. All of these fish, the way that they're described is just really cool. First and foremost, I might be able to share some pictures of artist renditions of what he saw
Yeah. That sounds great.
in the episode. So that's the 5-lined constellation fish. Essentially, it's described as a big, round fish with 5 lines of bioluminescent going across the side of it, and that it was kind of a little flat whenever it was viewed from the front, which is just an interesting kind of fish description. This is the 5-lined constellation fish. This is what they think it looked like.
Okay.
based on his description.
That's an apt name for it.
Yeah. So that's what that one looked like.
Yeah.
The next fish was also seen in 1932 off the coast of Bermuda. This is where most of it happened, was off the coast of Bermuda. And this is
Okay.
a fish that he referred to as the pallid sailfin. Now, this fish was described as being about 2 feet in length, didn't have any bioluminescence, and it had a small eye and what he called a good sized mouth for a 2 foot long fish. When it moves, he sees that it has a long pectoral fin going from about the middle of the back all the way to the very end of the fish. And it kind of like, I'm describing with my hands what it does. It kind of goes like this on the bottom and the top. And I'm going to pull that one up as well. And this is what he described as the pallid sailfin.
That looks dope.
Right? I mean, the drawing itself just looks really cool. But that's what the fish was said to have looked like.
That's a rocket.
Now, here's something that's interesting to me. I'm not sure how like he was able to determine sizes of things. I don't know how much the water and the quartz would have shifted his ability to determine lengths and sizes of the fish. I'm not sure. And that's one thing that a lot of people say about the way that he describes them. And I'm not going to read his exact wording description for every one of these fish, but I will for a couple of them. We're about to get to my favorite one here pretty quick. But one of the things about them is he uses other like land animals, descriptions of land animals to describe them. And so there's some debate among people who do study like marine biologists and stuff about whether or not his descriptions are actually of things that we know of, but he just didn't know how to describe them. And so it's weird in the way that it's seen. But there is some other debate out there because I think the description of the constellation fish, at least the 5-line constellation fish, I feel like that's pretty clear. And if we saw a fish that had 5 bioluminescent lines along their side, we would know, you know. But yeah, so that is the pallid sailfin. The next one is the abyssal rainbow gar. This is not my favorite one.
It's
But
a dope
apparently
name.
it is a dope name. He was 2,500 feet deep at 11:17, apparently. He says at 11:17 o'clock, I turned the light on suddenly and saw a strange quartet of fish to which I have not been able to fit genus or family. Shape, size, color, and one fin I saw clearly, but abyssal rainbow gars is as far as I dare go. And they may be anything but gars, about 4 inches overall. So this is a 4-inch long fish, apparently. They were
4 inches.
Yeah.
And he's landing on gar.
Well, because gar have a very specific shape to them. And I'm not actually sure. Gar might have been like just I don't know. It's okay, but here's the other thing. Is he says they stand upright as they go. Is how another thing he ends up describing about them. So like they swim vertically, which is kind of interesting. They another thing he says later in the same writing is that they were anything but gar. So I don't know how he came to the conclusion to call them abyssal rainbow gar.
Wild.
But they kind of just like levitated in the center of the lamp, not affected by the lights. And then he saw a slight fanning of the dorsal fin. Says that they kind of stayed equal spaces apart, slowly swimming away. They were slender with pointed jaws and stiffly extended. And that's why he went with the idea of gar, because they were stiff and had long jaws, essentially, I guess, is kind of my estimation.
Did you know that there's a British phrase, by gar?
No, there's not.
Used as a mild oath in the phrase by gar. I didn't know it was either. By gar is an exclamation and euphemism for by God, used to express anger, frustration, or emphasis.
So it's just what you say when you don't want to be sacrilegious or whatever?
Sometimes mimicking a foreign accent, as in Shakespeare's The Merry Wives of Windsor. By gar.
Okay, I mean, that makes sense, kind of. But that
Yeah,
begs the
don't know, man.
question. We can kind of see why they were called gar in the shape, but why were they called the abyssal rainbow gar? So they were described as the rainbow abyssal gar because their jaws and head were bright scarlet that abruptly changed to a bright light blue at the gills
Love
that
that.
faded into a strong yellow at the posterior end of the body, including the tail. He finishes his writing questioning why they were so bright because without the electric lamp, okay, since without the electric lamp would not have been seen, adding that it may have been a useless byproduct of evolution. I got you. Because they were deep enough into the water that like it didn't make sense for them to be so bright if they were invisible because of how dark it was.
That's really
Like
funny.
if they weren't visible.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah, I struggled to comprehend the meaning of that statement for a second. The next fish, this is my personal favorite of the 5 that we're going to discuss today, and this
Sweet.
is the giant dragonfish. So dragonfish exist. Like those are fish that they're real, like
Yeah.
they are out there. But these were spotted at a depth of 2,100 feet, and this is what he described as the most exciting experience of the whole dive. And this is how the log goes, his
Yes.
diary entry. Several minutes later, at 2,100 feet, I had the most exciting experience of the whole dive. Wow. It's like I already said that. 2 fish went by very slowly by not more than 6 or 8 feet away, each of which was at least 6 feet in length. They were of the general shape of large barracudas, but with shorter jaws, which kept wide open all the time I watched them. A single line of strong lights, pale bluish, was strung down the body. The usual second line was quite absent. The eyes were very large, even for the great length of the fish. The undershot jaw was armed with numerous fangs, which were illuminated either by mucus or indirect internal lights. Vertical fins well back were one of the characters, which placed it among the sea dragons. Melanostomiatids, I think.
Sure.
And were clearly seen when the fish passed through the beam. There were 2 long tentacles hanging down from the body, each tipped with a pair of separate luminous bodies, the upper reddish, the lower one blue. These twitched and jerked along beneath the fish, and undoubtedly arising from the chin, and the other far back near the tail. I could see neither the stem of the tentacles nor any paired fins, although both were certainly present. This is the fish I subsequently named Bathysphere intacta, the untouchable bathysphere fish.
I mean,
Right.
I'm curious how different it is from the little 4-inch guy. Like, obviously much bigger, but what if the 4-inch guy is just a baby?
I mean, it could be. So, have you ever seen a dragonfish before?
Dragging these fish, I don't know. No,
Okay.
no is the answer.
This is a dragonfish that we know exists.
I don't like it.
And like you can see the 2 rows of the light along it. But dragonfish, these don't really get that big. The giant dragonfish, here's just an artist rendition, dwarfed the bathysphere, which is scary. Like, I'm just imagining, like, being down there and a fish bigger than the thing I'm in
Yeah.
swims by and the whole time has its mouth open wide with jaws that are shining because it either has some kind of mucus on it or it's got some type of light inside. Like, that's terrifying.
I will
My
say
nose really itches.
it does help, like, if the comparison is that it's a lot bigger than the vehicle you're in, it does help if the vehicle that you're in is the size of an olive, approximately.
Yeah, I'm still like perplexed in how 2 grown men were able to fit inside of a sphere that was only 5 feet wide, like
Yeah.
less than 5 feet wide. And at least 2 inches of that was the steel itself. And they also had other mechanisms inside of it. Like it's crazy. But yeah,
Wow.
so the final fish, that
Yeah.
one's my favorite. This one's also pretty cool. The final fish is the 3-starred anglerfish. As you know, anglerfish exist. Those are
Yeah.
things that we know exist.
This guy.
Yeah, that guy. So the 3-starred anglerfish was recorded at 2,470 feet, which I think is about the deepest that we have seen so far. And this is how he describes it. He says, 1 minute later at 2,470 feet, all my temporarily relaxed attention was aroused and focused on another splendid piece of luck. A tie rope had to be cut, and in this brief interval of suspension, Extended by my hurried order, a new anglerfish came out of all the ocean and hesitated long enough close to my window for me to make out its dominant characters. I am calling it the three-starred anglerfish. I'm not going to read that Latin word. It was close in many respects to the well-known other Latin words, but the flattened angle of the mouth and the short, even teeth were quite different. It was 6 inches long, typically oval in outline, black, and with small eye. The fin rays were usual, except that it had 3 tall tentacles, or elysia, each tipped with a strong, pale yellow light organ. The light was clearly reflected on the upper side of the fish. In front of the dorsal fin were 2 pear-shaped organs exactly like those of the common Cryptosparus. The paired fins escaped me. No pioneer peering at a Martian landscape could ever have a greater thrill than did I at such an opportunity. Say what you will about BB, but he loves discovering animals.
Yeah.
And
Or
he gets
making them
so
up.
excited about seeing them. I mean, to be fair, I would too if I was underwater and saw something like this. But he's describing he says it's maybe 6 inches long, which also anglerfish. Anglerfish are weird.
Yeah.
Because I've read that because of deep sea gigantism, they can get up to 5 or 6 feet long.
Yikes.
But I've also read that they're typically less than a foot long. So I don't know what is real when it comes to deep sea fish.
Sounds like
It just
there's a
doesn't make a lot of
range.
sense to me. Huh?
Sounds like there's a range.
It does sound like there's a range.
I'm
But
Googling.
anyways, so the difference between this and a normal one is that this has, instead of just the one angler thing, it's got 3. I don't know how it can catch 3 prey at once.
So, oh, that's wild. That is wild.
I mean, yeah.
I can't even do a third. According to the Gemini overview, anglerfish size varies significantly by species and sex, with females generally much larger than males. While some deep sea species can reach up to 4 feet, many are under a foot long, and males are often only a few centimeters long, with some species remaining under 1 inch.
Oh my gosh.
That's the Gemini overview. So there's a chance that it's just not right at all.
So the range is from a few centimeters to 4 feet.
Correct.
Okay.
But I would guess that the males that are a few centimeters, they're not paired up with the 4 feet females.
Yeah.
Is my hope. Not even my assumption, my hope.
Yeah. Wild. But still, yeah, so those are the 5 fish that BB saw in the bathysphere that have not been seen. Now, there are a few theories as to why that is. One of them is that he just, didn't know what he was looking at, and we have since found them, but he described them differently than they actually looked for one reason or another. He's like an animal guy. This is what he does.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that it's like, sure, he could have just had some bad descriptions of things, but he did have some good descriptions of other creatures. And so it's one of those things that you go back and forth on a little bit. But anyways, that's one theory. Another kind of theory or estimate is that it was decades after he did his deep sea searching that it was decades between then and the next time we were able to go that deep. And so there's a lot of people out there who think maybe those fish just died off, because in the time after that, you have deep sea drilling that starts happening more frequently. You have shipping, which increases drastically. You have oil spills, and you have other environmental factors that have drastically changed since the 1930s.
Yeah.
Between now and today. And so there's a good chance that potentially the creatures that he saw just have gone extinct since then. And the final option is, and this one is one that I think actually has some, all 3 of these are valid and I think possible. I'd say equally possible almost. But the final option is that we just haven't found them again yet. And I think this is true because the sea is so vast and there's so much out there that we're still discovering. I think there's a crazy amount of new species that are discovered every single year still, not just in the ocean, but anywhere in the world. And so I think I wouldn't be surprised if one of these days we find some of these fish Oh,
Yeah.
like it wouldn't shock me
Yeah.
if we just haven't had the chance to run into him again.
Yeah. I'm willing to be less skeptical for this episode, Gage.
And that's why I say this one like barely fits the description, but I've been wanting to do an episode on these
Sure.
for a year now, probably. Yeah, that's Beebe's Bathysphere. Do you have any final questions, words, or anything along those lines?
I'm taking this baby bell wax and making it into a ball. It looks like a gusher, but I will not eat it.
So valid.
No, I think that thank goodness for conservationists before our time.
Mhm.
They really have done like I would guess that a conservationist is probably one of the easiest ways to make sure that like your existence on Earth is like net good, like the good that you do and help happen outweighs the bad that you do and help happen. I don't think that gets you to heaven, but that's neither here nor there. But anyways, yeah, thank goodness for conservationists. Really grateful that people like that existed because nature is beautiful and it's worth protecting and taking care of. And so really, we get to stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm not a conservationist. I use the bathroom a little too close to the water sometimes, if we're quite frank. But yeah, really grateful for people like that.
Yeah, it's super cool to hear the stories of the people who went before in different ways. And I'm not a conservationist either, but we are going to be talking in our next episode,
Oh,
which we're going to be recording here in a minute or two, about another conservationist, sort of. I can explain that when we get to it.
famous cryptid Theodore Roosevelt.
Okay, but the man was kind of a cryptid,
Yeah,
and that is who it is, actually.
no way. Dude is Bigfoot vibes for sure.
Oh no, for sure. He's Bigfoot. Like,
Yeah,
there's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's Bigfoot.
I
But
have the
yeah,
wax.
so that was William Beebe and the Bathysphere. If you would like to look more into this, please do. I highly recommend it. It's just kind of fun to see the kind of the things that people were able to do, not only just with engineering, because that those feats alone are incredible,
Yeah,
but even today, people are trying to do deep sea exploration and failing. So
still got it.
it's crazy to think about. But anyways, thank you for hanging out with us today. Before we get into some final words, DJ, do you have anything that you're into right now?
Um, yeah, sure. Trying to decide which one to do. I have been reading a book. I don't remember how it came across my suggestions. Let me check the title just so I make sure I don't say the wrong thing. I've been reading a book called The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, and it is really, really good. I feel like since I've become a reader again, there are a number of books that I read just kind of like it's interesting enough that I'll go ahead and finish it because I started it, but it's like kind of dry. I don't know. I don't know what it is that I like and don't like. I can't put it into words, but this is engaging and thrilling and like hard to put down. Very, very good book. Definitely worth a read if you're into mysteries. Oh, that's probably the way that I got into it. I was looking for like mystery books recently. But if you're into mysteries, then it's good. And if you're into the fact that old money rich people are like often messy, it's a good read. So highly recommend. Great book so far. I've got like 4 hours left to go according to the Kindle. So we'll see.
Okay. As of recording, as of release of this episode, we are in week 3 of the return of the Premier League. I am a huge soccer fan, and I have been really into FIFA, not FIFA. I've been really into soccer lately. Been watching the games. I've started on our TikTok account making predictions for how the weekend is going to go. Like when I say predictions, I don't say this team's going to win. I give scores and everything. And I did it for week 2. I haven't done week 3 yet because we're not there yet. But I got almost every single one of them wrong, and I'm going to keep doing it, by golly. So that's something I've been into, is getting back into watching soccer. It's so much fun. The first few weeks of the season especially are almost always just really exciting and nostalgic in a way. So yeah, That's been a lot of fun. And that's all. I want to say thank you to Jacob Casey, Jared Scrother, Adam Ward. Thank you guys, all of you, for being a part of the podcast and the music that we're able to play and just helping us in that creative way. They're all really cool guys. Go check them out and the different things that they're involved in. Jacob and Adam are both on Spotify. I think Jared has Spotify, but most of the stuff that he has that's active right now is his filmmaking. And I've said before previously, he is currently editing a book. So that's really cool as well. So go check those guys out and the different things that they're doing. And thank you to them for being a part of this as well. I want to say thank you, listener, especially if you have subscribed and you are following us and have been for a while. It's cool that you've been part of this journey with us. But also, if you're new, we're glad that you're here. And if you've stuck around this long, hey, that's awesome. You're like one of the three of us. And I'm two of the three.
Thanks, Garrett.
But anyways, thank you so much just for hanging out with us. That's what we want. If you have suggestions for things that we can cover in the future, please let us know. If you want to come on for an episode and talk about something specific or play a game with us, let us know. We would love to get more people involved with the stuff that we're doing. But whatever you do, just stay lovely.
Go thank yourself.